Recording is on.
Okay, welcome everybody. We are here with some folks from the Bitcoin design community as well as some folks from the Wallet Scrutiny project here. And this started from a Slack post talking about Wallet Scrutiny, a team looking for some UX and UI help with their website. So thought we would put together a call to get everybody here to talk about a potential collaboration. Um, yeah, I mean, we can really take this conversation wherever you want. To give you guys a little perspective on the wallet scrutiny side, in the Bitcoin design community, we have contributors all around the world, and so there might be some people who might be interested in helping you out with your project who are in a different time zone right now, who you couldn't make this call. So kind of the conversation we're having here, we're kind of speaking to each other. We're also speaking to kind of potential future contributors who might catch up on this call later on YouTube and message you on Slack and decide they want to help you out with something. So yeah, I mean, I've obviously looked at your website, but maybe could you, someone on the Wallet Scrutiny side, well, actually, first, maybe we should just kind of introduce ourselves real briefly, and then someone on the Wallet Scrutiny side could um, just give a brief rundown of your project and what it is that it does. So I'm Stephen. I help out here in the Bitcoin design community. I work mostly on the Bitcoin design guide and try to contribute to other open source Bitcoin projects on the side from a design perspective.
Yep, I'm Tanner. I got involved with Wallet Scrutiny probably a couple months ago. Just helping out on the side, have a fiat job during the day, but good to connect with everyone.
I'm Danny. I work with Leo. I've been working with him for a year. I mostly help around reviewing wallets and sometimes with graphic stuff.
Yeah, I'm Ed. I'm the random pull request fella who made a bit of that current design of the website. More or less what's there. Um, so that's what I do. I'm just a web developer. So that was just my contribution to Wallet Scrutiny.
Sorry, Leo, you seem to be muted. Your sound. I'll go ahead and introduce myself while Leo's just arranging that. So I'm Mo. I work with Stephen in the Bitcoin design community. I'm more on the UX research side of things. So very happy to help you guys to, do some user testing or competitive analysis to try and understand your user base and, make some UX changes based on that. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, and so Leo, we don't see the mute icon next to your name, but we're not getting any audio for some reason. And there is a chat too, if you need to relay messages that way.
Sometimes it also strangely helps if you log in and log out of Jitsi. You never know. That might also help. We've had that before, right,
Yeah.
Stephen?
Oh, double Leo.
Yeah, you can hear me now with the
Yeah,
same
the sound on
audio
that one.
issues as before. So
That'll be fine.
I'll see if you can hear me like weirdly on two microphones now.
Oh yeah, your other one's working suddenly.
Mm-hmm.
So does it work now?
Yes. Oh, that sounds so much better.
Okay, cool. So glad we fixed that. So I'm the founder of Wallet Scrutiny. I worked 5 years as a Bitcoin wallet developer with a wallet that has more than 1 million downloads. And I saw that there's huge issues with the security of not not only our own wallet, but with most of the wallets in the space. And so I tried to explore that a bit more. And yeah, the project grew from there. I started it with 40 wallets, and now, thanks mostly to Emmanuel, who dropped thousands of project names or links to projects at the Wallet Scrutiny. It is what it is today, and as Ed said, he's very modest because the whole design is all his, I would say. And yeah, I think you are all familiar with how with the website and what it's about. So if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Yeah, so for anyone who, well, first of all, did everybody who wants to introduce themselves have an opportunity to do so? Cool. So for anyone, yeah, who might be watching this later who's not familiar, so we're looking at walletscrutiny.com, and so my kind of take on it is that you're basically going through looking at Bitcoin wallets, and you're trying to see like which one of them has a reproducible build, and so that my understanding of that is you basically want to say, okay. I can get to the source code of the wallet, and then I can take that and I can compile that source code into the final app, and whatever I compile should match whatever is available on an app store. Did I get that right?
Yeah, basically how it works.
And it's actually kind of shocking looking through some of these statistics here. Like we've got so many wallets here who just don't have source code at all. So many with a build error.
Show all button. Click the show all button. In the fourth category, there's a show all button. See, like in the lower categories, like if you stop there, there's a show all button.
Ah, I see. Sorry. Yeah, no source. That's a lot of them.
3,300 on there, just over. That's a lot of work you guys have put in. Wow.
And these are pretty shocking too, the unreproducible ones, because it's like, we have ones on here that I recognize, like, Moon and Zeus and all of that, Samurai. And these are all kind of like, wallets that people, I hear about people using them frequently. They're held in very high regard. So it's kind of like, the source code might be public, but if you can't actually reproduce it, then you have no way of knowing, that what's on the App Store is actually the source code that you're looking at. So it's very good. So maybe we should talk a little bit about kind of what you're hoping to accomplish here. I think if I can go back and check the Slack message real quick. Let's see.
Yeah, I was just reading the Slack message here, and it's in Tanner's initial post. He said, from a design perspective, we want to build an intuitive UX with 3 user groups in mind: wallet users, security expert contributors, and wallet developers.
So I guess, and Leo can speak to kind of the vision and the things we want to add in addition to what we're doing right now. But I think a big thing is opening it up to the community in terms of, I guess, things that aren't there now that or big initiatives that we'd like to kind of pursue is, in the GitHub post, Leo mentioned kind of the, it puts a lot of, I guess, we're a small team and with, a lot of pressure on us, I guess, to submit all these reviews. And then it also puts the kind of, if a wallet developer isn't happy with, one of our verdicts, that, puts the target on our team's back. And we'd rather kind of have in the spirit of open source, which is what the whole, I guess, ethos of the project is to promote that by having expert opinions, people that are that are knowledgeable on kind of reproducible builds, and have them kind of collaborate. And if there's a disagreement, there's that's how that can be settled. And there can be multiple reviews within each wallet. And Leo, I don't know if you want to add to that.
No, exactly. The issue is with the contention that's produced when you review 3,000 wallets, and 3,000 don't fit into the top category. And for example, we have a checklist. So we go through those wallets and we say, oh, is it a wallet at all? Is it for Bitcoin? Is it self-custodial? Is the code available? And when we get that far, then it's already something that's in many cases an open source wallet, and maybe the developer is with really good intentions and everything. And instead of praising that it's an open source wallet that he does in his free time, we slap it with a non-reproducible verdict. So, but on the other hand, if you are a wallet provider and you don't care about binary transparency, then I think users should be aware of the dangers that are associated with that. And so I'm a bit conflicted about how to communicate this so that people don't say, oh, it's open source, great, and go on with their day, when in reality it's still a huge danger, because there is some open source and it might have nothing to do with the wallet that they are actually using.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's like, you've got to like kind of walk this line between, respecting that someone's, building something maybe for free, and open source and putting it out there. And there may not be, it might be a 1 or 2 person project, and they may have put a lot of work into it and have no bad intentions. So it's like you gotta kind of respect that, but then at the same time you have to, kind of be honest about the truth of it to users who are actually going to use these wallets. And it's like you don't want to paint these projects as being malicious in some way, but it's like also good to be transparent and honest about what potential risks might be for someone who's going to use this wallet.
Yeah, some say like take it or leave it. I do that in my free time. I don't have time to do the reproducibility thing. Yeah, but many people are just not really aware how under duress the provider might be providing, or might change how they manage the project. So even a best intended provider might get a virus on his computer. And so this whole subject is something that I have no illusion of getting through to all the users. Like the wallet users are probably not the ones that will fully understand what binary transparency means. But if people understand which wallets to recommend or why it matters, then I hope to get more wallets into the right spot. And so my main target is actually the wallet providers, that they hopefully care about the whole thing, and maybe we can get them to get involved. So sure, if they judge their own products, that's a problem. But if they judge other products in exchange for these other projects judging their project, then there could maybe get some community process going, and but communication is very key to this. So we can review 5,000 wallets more, and the project wouldn't gain much from that. So I have high hopes that you have the right ideas how to open this up to more contributors.
And you just used a term there, binary transparency. What is that?
Yeah, so you download a binary. So the app that you download from Google Play or from App Store is a binary. So a binary is not transparent normally. You cannot analyze it. It's just 5 megabyte or 50 megabyte, but that's as far as you can look into it. Yeah, so you can decompile it, and then you can maybe find out how many screens there are and what strings are on those screens. But it's really hard to really rule out if it is leaking the seed phrase to some server or not, if it's done with bad intentions. Yeah. So with bad intentions, you would obfuscate that there is a server involved, and it's easy to obfuscate when it's only a binary. But if you can reproduce the binary from a certain source code, then you look at the source code and you know that it is associated with the binary, and reviewing the source code actually makes sense, and that's why it's why it's binary transparency.
Something that I'm just picking up on, I'm like taking notes, I'm a note taker. Just something that I'm picking up a bit on in terms of what Tanner said and Leo has said as well is the word contributors. So Leo mentioned something about having people who are more knowledgeable on reproducible builds. And then Leo also mentioned something around having more wallet providers, contribute. Do you guys want to maybe speak a little bit more about that? Because I know Tanner mentioned, wanting people who are more knowledgeable on reproducible builds. Would you want them to contribute to the reviews on the actual website itself? And do you believe that that would then help with building trust in the eyes of users?
I think so, and that is something where it's kind of an open conversation of like where to draw, how open to make that, I guess, because there are concerns with opening it up to all GitHub using, or just having it, or having some kind of like filter, like Leah mentioned, only certain. That's just an open conversation of how, I guess, open it would be. But like some ideas, I guess, floating around is, per wallet, someone within that group could contribute and submit a review if they, disagree with some conclusion of a prior reviewer. We've had instances where, for example, there's a slightly different process to build a binary for certain wallets versus others. There's some like special accommodations. So it's not always the case where you can have a static tool that works across the board. And there's cases where there's a difference in the binary, but it's a benign difference, like it's a date stamp that's slightly different. And Leo can speak to the details more, but I think those kind of nuances where people can specialize in, a certain wallet, and it's not us, trying to do everything is kind of the goal.
Do you think that would help with building more trust? Like if you have those contributors kind of adding to the review process?
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, with like the principle of, or one of the principles, that we're trying to promote is that, open source, the benefit of open source is that lots of people can, bang on code and poke holes in it until it's good and secure. Which, if it's not actually open source, all those benefits are nullified. So I think we would promote that further if our own site was open source in a sense, at least in terms of, the verdicts and conclusions we're coming to.
Yeah. And then Leo mentioned something about finding more target wallet providers and getting them involved as well. Do you have any ideas around that maybe?
So the project already is open source, so everybody can make pull requests to Wallet Scrutiny, just that nobody does it so far. And it's also subject to our moderation. So if somebody wanted to comment on something, then he could create an issue and suggest to comment on something, or he could create a pull request, and we could reject that pull request or something. So So there is wallets that are very critical of wallet scrutiny, that are making much noise on social media, but have us blocked on social media. So they don't want to engage in a conversation, but they want to just ridicule the project because they don't like the rating. And that's basically 2 wallets. That's a very, very minor number of projects that care to attack us from those thousands that are reviewed. But anyway, I think it would be very helpful to give even them the chance to put their opinion onto the review of their own wallets, and in a self-service way, and resistant to censorship. And my idea was to use Nostr for that, so that the website itself would query the Nostr network for expert opinions on the currently viewed wallet. So you go to wallet X, and then your browser would download from the Nostr network all the expert opinions on the wallet X. And that would, by default, by my idea, be filtered by accredited experts, so that we would have like one list of that's the people that we consider experts, but it would allow the user to opt out of that filter and see all the spam that anybody wants to comment on that wallet. And that is a bit risky, because censorship resistant means that there can come whatever. Like, I don't know if people would put nasty illegal stuff into such reviews. With the accredited experts, I don't fear that too much, but it would prove the point that it is censorship resistant, and that we don't take any editorial measures against wallets fighting back against our verdict. And then there can be a discussion about, is it just to say the things that they said, or is it not just? And I think it would get quite some feedback if some wallets would then care to bring in their opinion.
I have a few thoughts or additions. Yeah, we've talked about the 3 different audiences here: wallet users, wallet developers, and experts. My view, like wallet users, they're the top priority, because at the end of the day, the goal of this project is to minimize the chance their Bitcoin in their wallet due to a catastrophic event. And so I'd love to see UX exploration on what's the appropriate amount of information to share with wallet users, or basically, or even more abstract than that, just like how will a common person, just normal user, like benefit from this and help assist them in deciding to select between several wallets, or decide that the wallet they're using maybe has more risks than they had considered. So, I think that's really important to figure out. And it gets into and then we can get into the details too, but like, do we have a grading system of like pass, fail, green, red, and super simple? Or is it on a 10-point scale? Or are there 7 different categories? We can make that as simple or complex as possible, and there's trade-offs. So evaluating that would be really important. But the other groups are really important too, like wallet developers. I mean, as Leo mentioned, there are a couple who have been quite critical and vocal, but all the other ones, my understanding is they're not critical, but they're also, as Leo said, they're not engaging yet. So, how can we improve relationships with wallet developers and be more friendly with wallet developers while not compromising on any of the principles and philosophy of the website? And then experts, third category, super important. I think it seems like a bit of a miracle to me, as much work as the few people here have done to cover so many wallets. And there's, I don't know what the numbers are, and maybe Leo or Danny or someone knows more, but I've got to believe with so many wallets, so few people, and so few, it's just been a volunteer project to this point. There's undoubtedly like errors, misunderstandings, and like there's gonna be some wallets that cannot be reproduced no matter who's doing it. Then there's another category of wallets that can be reproduced by like the wallet developers themselves, but like a reasonable person following a set of instructions cannot do it, or there's not a set of instructions. So that's another category. And there's just, as someone pointed out earlier, different wallets have different build systems and different techniques. So having more of the community involved and more experts involved is only going to help both with the volume and with expertise required to get as accurate information as possible. And that will also lead to better relationships with wallet developers.
On the point of only the wallet provider being able to reproduce the build, if only the maintainer on his own machine can reproduce the build, it's not worth anything, because if he has the virus that swaps out some line that leaks the code, then he doesn't gain anything from reproducing it on his own machine. If he can reproduce it on a different machine, then if it's too similar to the other machine, then the risk is all again in the similarities being because they use the same tools that were infected with that virus, for example. So the ideal is to have it reproducible on hopefully very different machines. And on the other subject that some wallets might inherently be resistant to external audit, well, we hope to use more advanced tools and promote the use of those more advanced tools to avoid such a situation. Yeah. So I've been a wallet developer myself for 5 years, and if somebody claims that it's my lack of understanding of the compile process is like the simplest part of software development. So some have the description as, okay, load it into your Android Studio. They don't say which version of the Android Studio. Then they say hit compile, and if there's any errors, try to fix the errors. Yeah, and if that is the compile instruction, then it's probably not reproducible. But if they have a very accurate script that determines exactly which versions of which tools are being used, then it's probably reproducible. And then you follow the instructions, and either you fail to follow the instructions, yeah, or it should be reproducible. And if it's not, then there is a problem with the project, or some of the tools introduces those non-reproducibilities, like where timestamp leaks into the binary, or the username of the logged in user, or something like that.
So I kind of feel like there's at least two interesting user research studies here. One is around wallet users, and then the other is wallet developers. And so if there's interest from the design community on that, I think that would be really valuable for the project. It would also be nice to sort of have a independent group do that. Because I mean, at least some of the wallet developers have been highly critical of wallet scrutiny. So just having an independent group do that, I think would benefit things as well.
And also, just a thought that came up is speaking to that main target group that Steve mentioned of wallet users themselves, and then coming back to the actual, purpose of the website, which is having people be knowledgeable that a reproducible build is something that's really important. And I'm coming in from the perspective of a completely non-tech perspective. So I'd be visiting your website. I'm not a developer or anything. And it feels a bit like, that target user group who's going to trust those reviews. I don't know what a reproducible build is. I don't know what a binary is. I don't even know why that's important. I'm just coming in completely blank slate. it would be interesting to see how education around what that is, and how that can be communicated in a way that people on the street, like everyday people, really get that. Maybe moving away from the terminology reproducible build, but putting that in a bit more like human language, so that when people land on the website, they're like, oh yeah, I get why this is important for me to figure out before I decide on using a wallet. I'm just thinking out loud.
Yep. No, those are very good points. And that's why these 3 different audiences too, the project might need different vocabulary for different audiences. Like the expert audience is going to know what reproducible build is, what it means, why it's important, etc. But to your point, mainstream audience will not. Also, one thing that Leo's talked to me about in the past, sort of vision-wise, I mean, one direction this could go. There's already a large body of content. It's only going to get better with time, quality-wise. And you can imagine in the future when there's many more Bitcoin wallet users, many more Bitcoin wallets, that the app stores themselves might even want to surface this content. So we can also think about like where will this content be surfaced. So I think as we're evaluating like what information is best to show wallet users, we can also think about different sort of vehicles how it's delivered. Like today they have to go to walletscrutiny.com so to even learn that. So how do they even discover wallet? How do they even know about wallet scrutiny? Are they Googling it? Like how are they discovering it? Another path could be there could be some wallets which do a great job. They really find it important to be as trustworthy or I guess trustless as possible. So they had put a lot of effort into making reproducible builds and security, etc. They want to market their wallet that way. So that set of wallets would likely be very pro wallet scrutiny and even want to like help brand themselves. So is there like a wallet scrutiny badge or something that a wallet will want to market and promote? That would be another way users could learn. And then third way could be this is long term, but like in app stores themselves might surface this content.
There's a widget that wallet providers can use, and some 2 or 3 wallet providers put those widgets on their websites. And yes, I would love for the Play Store to list the. I mean, I don't think they would need wallet scrutiny for doing that, but if they would bring awareness to the term reproducibility, or if they wanted to do that, they would put the commit hash or the signed commit into the version information and say, okay, we verified that this binary was built from that version on GitHub or on Git. Find it. If you find the version with this hash, then you have the right source code. We vouch for that because that's actually what Scrutiny does with every release. And that's, I think, an effort that many users do not appreciate, that we don't look just once at wallets. We look at every new release. So when a wallet releases version 3.2, then we try to get it as soon as possible. And we check if version 3.2 is also reproducible. It's not an aspect of a provider or a wallet brand. It's an aspect of the binary. And if the binary can be downloaded in 3 different ways, then those 3 different ways might provide 3 different binaries or not. And even received the same way, users might get different binaries based on which country they are in, which screen size they have, which phone brand they have. And we are talking here about phones. And when we talk about other platforms like hardware wallets, then it's even more complicated because there is many ways that you might get the binary that you use for your update. And yeah, enough said.
So I think that there's kind of two components to this project here, two different things that are needed here. Like one, there's the user experience side of this, which is actually more complicated because we have to think about, okay, we've got these three different, types of users here. Each one has a different level of technical knowledge and has different kind of motivations and interests, for different kinds of information they want to get at the website. So there's like the whole website UX angle. I think there's also the other component of this would be like public relations, like how to talk about this to people. And I mean, what that looks like is probably Twitter at a very minimum, I think. But it's like trying to come up with the messaging and getting the word out so that, like, if a wallet is launched, or if a wallet comes out with a build and the build is bad, you can't reproduce it, and it's like, or if it's consistently failing, like, how do you communicate that to the wallet devs, or like how for people downloading their Bitcoin wallet for the very first time, how do you communicate that this is even important to them? Because I'll tell you, like, I have heard of wallet scrutiny before this. Only reason I know is because I've read Mastering Bitcoin, and one of the 9 reproducible wallets happens to be mentioned in that book. And so the only reason I even know about walletscrutiny.com is because I was reading the book, clicked through to Mycelium, and then saw that badge. But like, there's so many wallets that aren't reproducible that, like, I feel like people, like, obviously, if you're not a reproducible wallet, you're not going to put a badge on your website that says, "Hey, my build can't be checked." So I think that, like, in addition to just working on the UX of the website, we really have to think about, like, the kind of marketing and PR around this as well.
Yeah, and I think one of the challenges one of the balances we're going to have to keep in mind when we do that is the simpler we make it for kind of like a non-technical user, the closer we could move to like a opinion, which we don't want to do. We definitely want to remain objective with these verdicts, and it's like a simple yes, no on each one. Was it reproducible? Is it custodial? Et cetera. So yeah, communicating that to non-technical users, but still in an objective way, I think is kind of the goal.
So, and Stephen really hit the. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't know. So
Stephen really hit the nail on the head. He said that there's like 2 main areas or 2 main buckets. The user experience. I wrote public relations down over here / education. And then I wrote a third point here, which is contributors, because that was kind of a point that Tanner brought up early in the call, as well as Leo, around wanting people who are knowledgeable on reproducible builds to actually contribute to those reviews on the website. And then the second one being about private wallet providers and getting them involved. So getting more people to contribute. Do you guys think that would help with building trust, or do you feel it might be more around the area of, well, let's do some competitive research around how information is presented in UX perspective, on the UI perspective, that builds trust? Or it might even be a combination of both.
It's both. I think.
Yeah, both. I mean, just with like the recent stuff we've said about, some wallet devs not being super happy with our conclusions, with our kind of small team, and it just puts the target on our back if we're the ones putting out all these reviews, where I think that diffuses if it is several people coming to a conclusion collectively, then that might, signal to the wallet developer that, they need to make a change, or or if someone has like a different process that a prior contributor didn't take into account, they can update it and say, this is actually, I got reproducible, I just changed this one thing, or what have you. I think it just diffuses kind of the bottlenecks and I guess, who to be mad at and who to point fingers at if you're a wallet dev.
That can almost be. Oh, go ahead, Mo.
From a competitive research kind of perspective, and this is just because I'm if we do some competitive research and are there any comparable websites or indirectly related websites or review sites that we could look at to get some inspiration? Is there anything that maybe comes top of mind for you guys?
There is.
The wallet developer who's highly critical created a competitor a year ago.
Yeah. So he didn't like the reviews, so he started his own project,
Okay.
bitcoinbinary.org.
Bitcoinbinary.org. Okay.
Bitcoinbinary.org. And I mean, they list many builds, and the reproducibility is an implicit claim because some of those don't even show that it's reproducible. So the claim is more implicit. And there is reproduciblebuilds.org. I think, how do you write it? Reproducible-builds.org. That is not about wallets, but it's about mainly Linux, I think. And they look at the broader space of what's reproducible, because, of course, if your system is running other software that might compromise your wallet, then the danger might not even be within the own wallet software, but within more basic tools that you run on your system. On the mobile platforms, that's highly controlled by Google and Apple, but on Windows, any app that you run on your computer might reach into your wallet, and that's a bigger problem for desktop products.
Cool. And outside of these, like these are indirect and direct competitors in this space or in this ecosystem. Are there other websites that you're like, well, they do a really good job of building trust? They do a really good job of building trust and getting users to trust their reviews on wallets, or just in general, something more.
There is some wallet metrics and other websites that try to list some wallets, but that's more like top 10 listicles. Like, it's not as profound or not as broad and not as deep as what Scrutiny is on the security. They focus more on features, on usability, on other aspects, like how likable is some product and not how secure it is.
Yeah.
And the security is implied by the reproducibility, but I also have a headache with the claim that it would be more secure if it was reproducible, because it still allows for exit scams. So if the top reproducible wallet, like the Schildbach wallet, that almost never misses to be reproducible, and when it misses to be reproducible, it can be resolved, and we figure out it was benign, or we in the end figure out how to reproduce it. Yeah, if that wallet would release an update, and thanks to Google's change that updates get deployed automatically, then the new binary that would steal the wallet, that would get rolled out to millions of users anyway. So the reproducible would not protect the user, and that's a bit of a scare for me, that something that I implicitly vouch for would do an exit scam that way. Yeah. So I would, on the one hand, love to make that green category not so green, and emphasize more that these need reviews, these need maybe decelerated releases, and if a release is rushed, and because even if it's reproducible, it might still have a hack. Yeah. So if the maintainer makes a 5,000 lines of code change, and the same day releases the binary to Google Play, then no security researcher has any chance of finding any backdoors, even if he knows how to find them and cares to search for them. So even the reproducibility of the latest release doesn't protect anybody until security researchers look into the code and check that it is actually benign.
Yeah.
So, no, Mo, I think in terms of like to your question about like looking at other things that like, engender trust, I think I'm thinking just beyond, the Bitcoin space here and just like the general kind of like rating and review space and stuff like that. And like kind of two case studies that come to mind for me would be like Yelp and Google businesses. And like, I think, Yelp kind of like really modernized the whole idea of like we're going to crowdsource reviews and stuff like that. Very, very quickly became very, very well established among users. They got a lot of flack though. I mean, I feel like, 10 or 12 years ago, there was all this kind of controversy. Like, are they, I don't say it's true or not. I'm just saying that there was, there'd be these kind of urban legends about, is this some kind of racket they're running? Are the users just bots and, are they trying to get businesses to pay? So it's an example where you can crowdsource something and you'd think it would have trust, and yet the perception of that can go wrong. And then, Google kind of took that idea with like Google Maps and Google My Business and that whole suite of integrations. And, I feel like I haven't heard, I mean, there's always kind of going to be like a general public distrust of Google, I think, but I don't get as much sense that people distrust reviews on Google Maps. I think they've done a good job of like, you pull up a restaurant on Google Maps or any kind of business and there's a rating and you can kind of see all the different Google accounts. You can see the usernames from all the different people. And I think that may also be because of Google reCAPTCHA. It's because they've done a good job of filtering out bots and stuff like that. So there's a lot more like social proof when you're looking at Google Maps in terms of like knowing that these reviews are probably coming from real humans. So I don't know. That's me rambling. That's what comes to mind when I think about that kind of stuff.
It's that it's about giving users that familiarity of the UI familiarity of the websites, of these other review websites that they're used to visiting and that they feel trust with. And those might be, Yelp, Google Business, Google Maps. And while that's a completely, not directly related industry, we can still pull some inspiration from them in terms of how is trust built from a psychological perspective on these websites. And if we give users a little bit of that familiarity, it might help with them feeling trust when being on the that first target user group. But yeah, just thinking out loud.
Yeah, there's quite some influencers that recommend products that I suspect to be quite malicious. So it's they convey a lot of trust, and I think it's not warranted. And so that's why I want expert opinions. And well, as I said before, accredited experts in my book would be at least one developer per wallet project, even including those that are maybe malicious. Yeah, but if we average out across all of them, then they might downvote all the competitors, but they might get in return downvoted by all the competitors, and so they cannot really make some outlandish claims and just give the thumbs down on everything. So and by being wallet developers, they qualify as sort of an expert, and so I hope to get some engagement. And I think as soon as some 10 wallets would onboard to rate some 5 wallets each, then others would come and join and give some more meaningful ranking, at least within each verdict, because I think that the worst wallet in each verdict is much worse than many wallets in worse verdicts. So how to explain it? So there might be open source wallets or there are open source wallets that I consider much more dangerous than some closed source wallets, yeah, or like most closed source wallets. Yeah, so there's some closed source products that are, for who knows what reason, are closed source, but they have some solid company behind them. So I just don't think they would exit scam, because it's just such a big operation, and I see where they make a profit. So, and then there's those open source projects that are just doing weird stuff, making outlandish claims, and don't want to show their faces. So yeah. Experts, not average users, not your neighbor, not your influencer. That's what I think would be most meaningful and trust-inducing, rightfully.
That's another complexity here too, is that there's just so many attack vectors and vulnerabilities, and every single wallet's going to have its own pros and cons. And there's definitely a spectrum. I mean, there's definitely some that we can assert objectively are less risk than others, but it's just not as clean as like yes or no. There's dozens and dozens of factors, many of which, or some of which are binary yes or no, but many of which are a gradient themselves. Some of those factors are not even, that they're subjective, not objective. And so for any given wallet, you're probably only going to have a subset of the full picture and accurate information. And then how do you package that up and share that with users? And how do you compare it against other wallets? Very complicated.
Yeah.
It almost, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and when we were looking at the Bitcoin binary thing, I did kind of like a quick comparison of just kind of the main features. And so they're basically like a feed of all the reproducible builds, some automated, some from different contributors. And it's basically a yes or actually it's only one. It's just, it only includes the ones that were reproducible. And I looked at our site, and we have 23 possible, obviously along different, not all in the same category, but 23 different possible kind of tags for a wallet. So there's, reproducible, custodial, leaked keys, all these different categories that I think eventually, if we do it kind of objectively and responsibly, could be rolled up into one score. We'll definitely have to workshop that, and if it makes sense to do that, but just in support of kind of like the non-technical user understandability, like, oh, this got a 6.7 wallet scrutiny score or something. That's not, we'll have to kind of workshop that, but I think that could be something that could take into account a lot of different security aspects outside of reproducibility, to kind of paint a bigger picture.
It feels a bit like there's this translation process that needs to happen, in terms of, these wallets are being, how do you say, graded on X criteria, ABC 1, 2, 3, and those criteria are quite technical in themselves, and they vary. So from a user group of being a developer, they understand that. But then the report that pops out of that needs to then be translated into human language for target group 1, which is the everyday user. So how is that translated? How is that done? And yeah, it would have to be like this funnel or something. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. Yeah.
And we do have, I would say, of the kind of three sites we threw out, we do have pretty extensive explanations of our methodology, and I think Leah's done a great job, just very detailed, kind of what is how we do things, how we evaluate, what each kind of tag means. I think it's just going to be a way of kind of organizing and making that translation, like you said, more efficient, and just presenting it in a nice way.
Yeah. And it feels almost like if you translate it in a way that's very human, then and that then in turn builds trust with the target user group number one, then they're going to trust the reviews that are on the website. So it's communicating it in just a very easy to understand way. Yeah. Okay. Any thoughts, Michael? Stephen?
Well, I was going to say we're actually getting up on the hour here. I don't want to cut the conversation short if anybody wants to keep chatting. I was just going to kind of maybe summarize some next steps, and we've had a pretty good conversation here. Mo's been taking notes. I've been taking notes. You know, we've talked about our three different kind of user groups here, and kind of the nuance and complexity of not being able to boil these down into just binary yes or no's. Needing to make something that's actually usable for the wallet users, while also not, abandoning these, principles. So, yeah, I think, and we've kind of also isolated some different directions we go here. There's probably some research in order in terms of just looking at some of these other reproducible build sites, seeing what the differences are, looking at some of these, any kind of website or app that uses ratings and reviews and seeing kind of what's working really well there, and then thinking about how we put that into some UI design for the website, and then like how we might approach writing copy for something like this, or how we might approach a kind of education campaign for this kind of thing. So. I think it seems like there's a good chunk of work here, and I think there's a lot of people in the Bitcoin design community who probably be interested in this because some of the existing projects in the community, sometimes it's not always as easy to get as involved in an existing project when there's momentum and contributors there who already know what they're doing. But for these brand new projects, I think that these are always exciting things for people to get involved in. So I think we should start a Slack channel for this in the Bitcoin design workspace, and just make a post about it, let people know they can get involved. Put a link to this video and some of our notes, so that other people can go in, and then we could continue to discuss it in that Slack channel from there, and a more structure will emerge around the project as we see who gets involved and who wants to do what. That's
How do you guys
take
feel?
on it.
That sounds great. No, I appreciate you guys being so eager to help, and I think this is going to be really productive. So appreciate everything.
Yeah.
Be sure to take a look at the link Danny just dropped too. Apparently, I'm view number 2 on this video, so it must have literally just dropped. But it looks promising.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen, for the invitation to this. And yeah, looking forward to great cooperation. Thanks.
Very
And
nice
just,
explainer video. Sorry.
And just honestly, kudos to you guys for the amount of work that you guys have put in. I mean, you're a really small team, and you've managed to produce 3,000 reviews, if I understand that correctly, showing all 3,000 reviews. I mean, that is a lot of work and passion that's gone into that. So kudos to you guys, seriously. It's really nice to see that. Connor would like to speak, I think.
Oh no, did I press something by mistake? Wow.
It's one of the most common UX things on Jitsi. Somebody tries to clap their hands and then they accidentally press the raise hand button.
Oh my bad, but no,
All good.
say hi. I'll just say hi and bye.
It's not your fault, Connor. It's the UI, not your fault.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and kill the recording, but like I said, anyone who wants to hang out, this Jitsi's open whenever. There, stop recording.